Everyone wants the best tasting quality coffee, but it doesn't come without its own set of problems. Just like a Wagyu steak, we know that it is expensive, that it's super high quality, but there's still certain measures that need to be taken in order to produce it to its finest once it's cooked. And if you take it home and you don't care how you cook it, or someone gets hold of it, they don't care, they slap it on the barbie and they just let it burn to a crisp, and then someone else eats that, they're gonna say that steak was rubbish. Well, we have the same set of problems with really high quality coffee. Because at the end of the day, if you're making it at home and you're not a skilled barista, you're going to make mistakes that are going to drastically affect the coffee flavor, and that might lead you to believe that the coffee is rubbish. How do we fix that as the coffee distributors and roasters so that you don't have to upskill your coffee making skills, but you can still get what you think is a decent tasting coffee? G'day, I'm Ryan, your Chief Espresso Officer. Let's look at today and experiment with some different styles of roasting and adding Robusta into our blends, and see if we can get a good result on a little home machine, just like you do at home. Problems come from the single origins, because blends are built to be very stable and they can be messed up and still taste fairly good. But with a single origin, they're very, very particular. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to blame the beans. But we can fix that if we get a little bit tricky on our side of things and roast a little bit different. So I've got a couple of samples here that are roasted slightly different to our normal roasts. Some of them, we've actually added a Robusta bean into the blend to give it a little bit more of that body that's going to help cut through the milk, even when it's under extracted at home. Others, we've sort of pushed the roasting a little bit further, stalled it a little bit to give it a bit more body and oomph to it, kind of a little bit darker. I wouldn't say these are dark roasted coffees, but they do push the boundaries of what a medium roast coffee is. And this is another way that we can experiment with to try and get under extracted coffee tasting pretty nice. Let's get into it. I've got my team here all on standby. We have not tried these coffees. I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm hoping that out of the 4 different styles that we did, that one of them will be at least suitable to roll out as an actual blend. Maybe it doesn't. So you can come on this journey with me and we can look together and find out which coffee might suit yourself at home. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with one particular coffee because these are blends. So the main thing I want to look at is under extracted coffee and how do these blends work under extracted. Now the number one reason people under extract their coffee is because these little machines, they take like a minute to boil the water in the boiler. That tells you it's ready to go. So people go, cool, ready to go. They forget that this guy is still cold. Like I feel that now, that's cold as anything. And this means that all your energy will be used to heat this up rather than extract your coffee. So that's the first thing I want to try, is how does this blend work through a cold portafilter? Let's give it a try. So I'm going to dose to 22.5 because that's what our that's what our normal recipe is. I'm going to do our normal recipe, which is 22.5, and I'm going to grind this as our normal for the consecutive ones because the portafilter will have heated up. I'm going to have to grind it a bit coarser to make up for the fact that this is ready to go. But for the first one, I want to try this is a real scenario. Someone is ready to make their coffee. They're not thinking about their portafilter being hot. They dose their coffee, maybe they're weighing it, they dose it, grind it, pour it, still under extracted. And that's what I want to test. All right, so ready to go, starting it off. I want to try and achieve double the amount out, so 45 mil, in about that 30-second range. It's coming through very watery, very thin. Cups are rolling away. Oh, that lasted no long time at all. That's very under extracted, but perfect for what we want. Yeah, extremely sour. Very muddy tasting as well. But that's perfect, because we want to see how it cuts through the milk. So I'm going to give this to my team. Come on, people! We tried that one slightly under extracted. It actually turned out pretty well. Now the portafilter is nice and hot, so I'm gonna have to adjust the grind to be a bit coarser. I didn't mind it. I thought it was actually quite nice. It cut through the milk very nice. It did have a heavy body. I think from the team, they generally said it tasted pretty nice, sweet, balanced. Was pretty surprised at how good it tasted. So that's a positive for this blend. Now we're gonna move on to the next blend, continuing the same experiment. Big Bad Bets. Now remember, we're deliberately trying to under-extract. We're trying to come up with ways to replicate how a person might make it at home who maybe doesn't know much about ratios and recipes or doesn't know what to look for. We're trying to make it so that this is almost foolproof in a way. Obviously the espresso aficionados are not going to be making coffee and they're not going to be really buying this particular coffee. This is really designed to, I guess, go for those people who just want a simple coffee and just wants to taste the coffee. And so we're trying all of these on milk, so they're not espresso because they aren't designed to be drunk just straight black. So I'm trying to look at how it comes through the milk, and that's definitely cutting through the milk quite nice. It's very, very balanced. There isn't, I don't taste much bitterness at all in that. There's no sourness as well, so even though slightly under extracted, it's still cutting through really nicely. I think it's a little bit on the flat side, but it still works for me. It's obviously, you know, it's not caramello, it's not tall, dark and handsome, but it's not bad either. I definitely think it's better than a lot of the low brand coffees that you can get around the place. That one could really work for home people. So the rest of the team said things like it was a bit bitter, drinkable, but not for everybody. And I think it scored lower than the other one. So we got like 4s out of this one. But I'm happy to go a bit higher on this one. I'd give it more like a 7. Yeah, there's just a slight under extraction flavor there, but it's actually, it holds its own, but yeah. So that's it for the part 1. Yeah, I think there's a lot more before we roll this out. It's obviously not just showing it to a couple of people and getting their opinions. We want to test it on different machines. I want to see how it will go through the Synesso when we drop down the pressure and under extract it through that way. Also, I want to maybe get in the Decent and look at how, if we can notice anything on the graphs, just to see if there's anything from a scientific point of view, because obviously I'm all about the flavor, and see if there's anything that we can refer to in the graphs that might help us make a better, more informed decision. That's it for part 1, but what do you want us to look for in part 2? So put comments down below, give us a like if you enjoy this sort of content, but if you've got something that you would like to see happen, maybe we can help you at your home, tell us, put us a note in the comments below and we'll respond to it obviously, but we're looking forward to part 2, and as always, enjoy your brew.